month or two, playing a junk tokens deck, Advent of the Worm, Voice of Resurgence, Call of the Conclave, Lingering Souls, Midnight Haunting, and he's a intangible virtue deck. As we see them start the game off with a delightful game of rock, paper, scissors. So welcome, guys, to our round 2 feature match. As I was saying, we do have Chad Watson on the left, who's piloting junk tokens, and it is exactly what you would expect it to be. And his opponent on the right is the eponymous Scotty Wright, who is playing a Bug Immortal Servitude deck, aka the Terrible Twos. It is basically a tempo/combo deck, which uses Grizzly Salvage and Forbidden Alchemies to fill its graveyard with a lot of 2-drop creatures, trying to find an Immortal Servitude, which will bring back all of those cards, and then hopefully kill his opponent with Blood Artist triggers. So we're right away into our first game of this match. Both these players are 1-0. So we'll see who gets the better part of this one. So there we see the turn 2 Immortal Servitude from Chad. The deck doesn't, the only 1-drops that Chad's deck plays are Mana Dorks, and turn 2 Servitude is basically where he wants to be each and every game, as he can then play either Lingering Souls or Midnight Haunting and load up 4 power of evasive attackers. And it looks like exactly what he's going to do, so we're going to see 2 Lingering Souls tokens for 4 power flyers. Meanwhile, Scotty's got 2 Forbidden Alchemies. I couldn't make out what the rest of his hand is. His mana base in this deck is terrible. A lot of times his first 3 lands come into play tapped unless he has a specific shock land that he needs. But basically he's just trying to survive long enough to load to fill his bin and then combo off with Servitude. Now, starting with these 2 Lingering Souls is pretty brutal. A lot of the tempo that Scotty gets are from cards like Elvish Visionary, which help cycle and then basically just chump block. But obviously the flying creatures from Chad's deck are going to get around that. So Scotty choosing not to shock himself here with Overgrown Tomb, which means he should be loading up a either a couple Tragic Slips, or I think he has that Grizzly Salvage that he shuffled to the front of his hand. So the 2 players serve in, dropping Scotty to 16. And then Chad has no follow-up, which usually means he might have a, that's pretty brutal. Chad usually having Midnight Haunting in this spot. So we see Scotty off Grizzly Salvage basically milling 2 Immortal Servitudes. He does play all 4 copies, but that's basically the card he needs. We play-tested this deck earlier in the week on Wednesday, and in all the games we played, there were no games won when you just simply cast your creatures and then tried to out-tempo your opponent. Servitude had to make an appearance, so Scotty's going to be desperately digging for one of the other 2 copies left in his deck. But he does have the... Oh, I think he might have one in his hand, actually. Yes, he does have 1 Servitude in his hand. We also see a Tragic Slip. And there is Alchemist's... What is that card called? Alchemist's Apprentice? Hold on.
What's that card called? Is it Raw?
I was right. Using my low-tech technology to check. That is Alchemist's Apprentice, another 2-drop 1/1 that you can sack to draw a card. So basically it and the Visionary provide tempo and chump blockers, and then cycle to keep Scotty's hand full. Question in the chat about whether or not he's playing Snapcasters in this deck. He is playing Snapcasters as well. That would probably be, other than Shocklands, the only good card that this deck plays. It is a lot of marginal cards with a lot of synergy. He is playing Abrupt Decay and Tragic Slip as his removal package. But pretty brutal here from Chad, as we see a second intangible virtue following the advent of the worm. So the Alchemist's Apprentice is probably going to jump in front. Nope, he's just going to chump. He's going to chump, but I always forget that the advent token has trample. So he's going to take 11. He's going to take 12 all the way down to 4, so Scotty's going to try and combo here. He does have Servitude for 2 available, but I'm afraid it's not going to be good enough. And the back half of Lingering Souls all but seals this one up. He does have 1 Blood Artist in his graveyard, but I don't think it's going to be good enough here. Chad hasn't shocked himself at all. Yep, and that one just did not go Scotty's way. Lingering Souls, one of the cards, is relatively difficult for this deck to beat. So we move into game 2 here, and these guys are going to sideboard. And I'm going to take this opportunity, like I do every week at this time, to try and give you guys some Magic cards you may have seen if you're watching the start of this round, or the start of each of our rounds here on the Lost Legion FNM stream. We like to start all of our future matches with a delightful game of rock, paper, scissors, using these 3 parody cards from the Unglued set. And if you'd like to start your games like a boss, you are in luck, as we give away a playset each and every week. As we speak, I'm over at our Facebook page at facebook.com/ZachSellsMagic, which not only hosts this giveaway weekly, but also has updates daily with general Magic news and whatnot. So head over there, look for the post I'm just about to make. You got 4 ways to enter each week. You can like the post on Facebook, you can share it on your own stream, or you can comment on it, and each of those gives you a separate entry into our drawing. It also shows up in my Twitter feed at ZachSellsMagic. So you can head over there and follow me and retweet for another chance to win. So 4 separate ways to enter each and every week. We'll make the drawing for last week's giveaway tomorrow, and we will draw for this week's drawing next Saturday. So are these cards worth a ton of money? Not really. But are they fun to have? Absolutely, and that's one of the ways we can give back to you guys. So while you're over there, make sure you like our Facebook page. It helps us to spread the word. And follow me on Twitter for daily Magic news updates, general rants and whatnot. I mention this all the time, guys. We obviously run a very low-key operation here, but I do take a lot of time in updating our Facebook page on a daily basis with spoiler information, general Magic news about events and coverage, and then just updates about the stream, pictures, videos, highlights, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you check us out. I always tell people it's the kind of website that I would look at if I wasn't running it myself. So hopefully it should be a good time for you there. Like I said, Ian has stepped out for a second. He should be back a little bit later, so we will have 2 of us in here. You won't have to listen to me talk to myself while sitting in a broom closet. Let's talk a little bit about the tournament tonight. Like I said, 30 runners in tonight's 5-round Swiss tournament. Let's talk a little bit about who's in the field. On 1 win tonight, we've got Adam Vickers. I don't know what the local legend is playing this week. I think he has audibled away from his bug control list, which is a pretty popular deck. It's a specific homebrew, but a lot of people are interested in that. He's playing against Brandon Gibbs, who I believe is playing Gruul Aggro. You've got the matchup that you see here in front of you. These players are both on 1 win. You've got Casey Skibby, who's playing Zombies, against Brett Rose, who's playing, I believe, Esper Control. We've got Alec Myers playing Junk Aristocrats, or he could be on the Domri plane. Last week he was playing Naya. He's up against Aaron Daly, who we saw win our round 1 feature match with his Boros aggro deck. Then we've got Justin Sayer, who's playing Junk Reanimator, and he's up against Nick Reed, who's playing a very interesting Bant's mid-range deck that features multiple copies of Progenitor Mimic, which is pretty ridiculous. And then Garrett, who we just saw win our secondary feature match in round 1 playing Grixis Control, he's up against Max Turner, who this week is playing Jund mid-range. And a lot of other people in the field, and a lot more interesting matches to come later tonight, I'm sure. We're also, if you caught us between rounds 1 and 2, we were talking a little bit about some M14 spoilers. I think I've got about 30 of them downloaded. There's been some saucy ones spoiled over the last week, so we'll be talking about those a little bit later on. So if you've got a particular card you want to discuss during the downtime, make sure you let me know in the chat, and we'll talk about that. As these guys get ready to move on into the second game, as Chad's junk token list got there in round 1. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Nothing is going on in the chat. Nothing very much. Colin D is going on in the chat, he says, which I appreciate. This would be an ample opportunity as we have a little bit of downtime here to head over to our various forms of social media and follow, like, and subscribe. I say that every week, and I know that those of you who are watching each and every week are probably tired of hearing me say it, as I would probably be tired of hearing myself say it if the roles were reversed, but there's 160 of you watching us right now, and while we very much appreciate that, I know some of you have not liked our Facebook page or have followed me on Twitter or have subscribed to our YouTube channel, and again, all of our social media is at the same username, Zach Sells Magic. It's horrible branding, I know, but I'm stuck with it now. We recently hit another milestone. We're up to over 1,200 subscribers to our YouTube channel, and while our weekly Twitch viewers is way up in the last month or so, our YouTube views are way down. So if you miss any live action, make sure to go back in the following week. I usually post the videos the day after, so you can check those out at your leisure. But meanwhile, we're back to some imaginary wizard fights here. So Scotty Wright's going to be on the play with his Immortal Servitude deck. We'll see if he can muster a better go of it this game than last time. Turn 1 Pilgrim from Chad, who apparently forgot to draw his card. Doing things slightly out of sequence here. Such are the perils of playing at FNM. So Scotty being on the play here, obviously, almost every deck benefits more from being on the play, but he's going to be in a much better spot so that he can. He's going to be one full turn ahead of Chad's either Lingering Souls or Midnight Haunting plan, and he's going to be able to cast one of his Grisly Salvages or a turn early and not be under pressure. So we see him have Abrupt Decay in hand, which is probably going to come down here. Or he might salvage here. It's a tough spot. He has options both. He can abrupt the Loxodon Smiter, but instead he decides to just load up with a salvage. So we see Blood Artist, Snapcaster, a Grisly Salvage, and some lands. So he keeps the land, obviously on a Mana Light draw, so Alchemist Apprentice makes an appearance. It's going to do a good time to buy him some tempo. Somebody out there is having a really good time. The people who decide to play EDH every week decide to load up right behind where we broadcast from, so we do have that ambient noise issue to deal with. So Chad got some choices here. Obviously he's going to pound in with that Loxodon Smiter, which is going to get chumped by the Alchemist Apprentice. And then Scotty's going to cycle it before damage and draw himself a card. So this is exactly where Scotty wants to be. No token producer has made an appearance so far. Scotty's deck can answer the Loxodon Smiter a lot easier than it can the Spirit tokens that Chad's deck puts out. Or the Advent of the Worm token, to be perfectly honest. As I see, he has an Elvish Visionary in his hand. Should buy him some more time. And I believe another Alchemist Apprentice. So I'm going to jam the Visionary and hope to draw into another land. And he doesn't, so Scotty's stuck on 3 lands. Chad has reached the Advent of the Worm portion of this game, should he draw it at this point. Just adds another Avacyn's Pilgrim and another Intangible Virtue. So not where Chad wants to be at all, as he has the double virtue, no token draw. So giving Scotty tons of time to try and assemble his equivalent combo in this game. And it looks like Scotty, no, he has drawn looks like he has drawn another land, which is a Breeding Pool. So I guess he's deciding at this point if he wants to shock himself or if he wants to save himself the life. I know he has looks like he has an Alchemist Apprentice in his hand as well. But I cannot make out the other cards. They all have to be spells other than the Breeding Pool, as we know he's stuck on mana. I see a Blood Artist and an Abrupt Decay. Hey Garrett. Just me. Now joined by Garrett Meadows. Did you get there?
No, I have 4 spells in 3 games.
Well, you get mana screwed?
I get mana screwed and then flooded into.
You're playing Max. Is he playing Jund?
Yep.
I guess that happens sometimes. Well, in this game we've got Chad Watson on the left playing his junk tokens list, and then Scotty's playing this bug Immortal Servitude deck.
That's cool garbage.
Yeah. Well, we tested this matchup.
Right. I just find it funny that this card is usually not seen in a lot of decks. Happens to be in his deck against an opponent with a lot of one-toughness creatures.
Yeah. Chad recently added Golgari Charms, which I don't understand why they're in his main deck, but they do a lot of work in this matchup. So Scotty trying to decide what blocks he wants to line up here as Chad serves in with a Strangleroot Geist and 2 Avacyn's Pilgrims. I would think that you would... Scotty...
He's just going to do it himself.
Scotty's going to fire back there, and that's going to be a 5-point swing, right?
Yeah.
So Chad's going to drop...
Guys comes back.
Yeah, Chad's going to drop down to 13. This guy's going to go up to 22. And the diner in the building directly next to us is going to keep pounding nails into the wall for the entire duration.
Making love.
They're doing it wrong. That's not how it should sound. It is really brutal, though. Especially at, like, 8 o'clock on a Friday after the 4th of July.
Exactly.
I know that they're closed today, and this is, like, the ample opportunity for them to do that, but... So, unfortunately, Scotty's draw doesn't look much better than Chad's, as he's on 2 Abrupt Decays here. I think he might have a Forbidden Alchemy.
Okay. I'd say it just takes
No, he has a Snapcaster that we know about, because he kept it off of a Grizzly Salvage earlier.
Yeah. So you can Snapcaster Flashback and out of the graveyard.
If there's one in there. He just runs out the Alchemist Apprentice, which is... Alchemist Apprentice in this deck is basically Elvish Visionaries 5 through 8.
Yes.
It chumps...
That also turns on Tragic Slips.
Yes, it's much better, actually, in that regard. Usually Elvish Visionary is better because it can pump up... it get pumped by an Archdruid, but in this case we're just going to chump block the Strangleroot Geist and go ahead and cycle for a card.
There's no reason to keep that guy around.
He wants all the stuff in his graveyard. I'm not sure how this deck interacts with a Rest in Peace, though. Like, hopes they play it on turn 2 and you haven't gone crazy with your mill yet.
Right. I think that's why they have 2 Abrupt Decays made and 1 on board.
And he draws another Elvish Visionary. So if he eventually draws the Immortal Servitude, it's going to be pretty brutal. Oh, wait, he already has it, doesn't he? Yeah, he already has it.
So he's
but he's under no pressure here, so he might as well just run out all the guys as much as possible.
Yeah.
And pray Chad doesn't draw.
He has the Blood Artist in the graveyard.
Yeah.
He has a Sacrifice outlet. He could just be setting up the combo kill. This is fun. He obviously didn't draw a land because he hasn't played a land in
End of turn, we're going to flash in an Advent of the Worm token, which is going to be 7/7 Vigilant here. Scotty hasn't been under any pressure so far, so he's only going to take 7 damage from that, and then he can just combo next turn. You know, he's gonna bend both of his Elvish Visionaries regardless. Probably trade with the Strangleroot Geist and then combo.
Still no Gavany Township from Chad.
Yep. So you
sending like one of the Archangels actually better here. So you double block and you take 7.
Dropping him down to 15. Normally be in kind of a spot here, but as we know, he's just going to untap and wreck Chad. A quick 3 black mana count just to make sure he can legally cast Immortal Servitude.
Yeah.
His graveyard has reached the point where it's both off camera and almost off the table, so his graveyard now looks like an Adam Vickers pile shuffle, which starts with 6 piles and ends in one massive heap.
And and then he draws his top 7 cards from the heap.
I mean, I think Scotty's really trying to, like, find a way that he doesn't have to. Yeah, see, he's trying to find a way so that he doesn't have to combo this turn either. I guess he's going to Abrupt, yeah. And he's got a Snapcaster, I guess. He's a Deathrite Shaman, so that kind of expedites things a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you cannot afford to. Well, there's an Alchemy. I guess this is pretty much going to seal it. One creature goes. You keep the land.
Sure.
Hey, Jonathan. Now joined by Scotty's brother Jonathan. So we're about to see, I can imagine, a Immortal Servitude for 2. Which returns every creature in Scotty's deck to the battlefield. So I guess Chad's only response would be Purify the Grave, which I believe he has.
Yep.
But obviously does not have that in hand. So let's see what comes back. I think we saw all 4... all of these. So I'm going to draw...
10 creatures into the battlefield. Already purifying the grave.
Huh? Scotty's now explaining the rule. Chad is one of the newer players, so I think Scotty's being nice enough to...
I think he was just laying the creatures out for Chad to purify, because that's all he'd be interested in doing.
Yeah, but I heard Scotty did say you need to do that before.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so
Okay.
Scotty being the nice guy there, and I mean, because he just loses if he doesn't do that,
Right.
so it's a pretty... Yep. Yep.
It's mine.
So, with the Snapcasters come into playability. So basically at the end of all that, after Chad purified the grave on the 2 Blood Artists, we drew 4 cards off Elvish Visionaries, and then we flashed back a Tragic Slip, which did have Morbid on it, from the Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, to clear out the Death Ray. So, Scotty's now in beatdown mode.
Well, he's got him on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's got him on 2 turn clock.
He's got him on the 2 turn clock. And
Chad's
Chad Miracle's an Isolated Chapel. Yep, so just get in there with your 1/1s.
There's a 2-1 in there.
Oh, yeah. It's rarely a situation where Snapcaster Mage is the most imposing attacking creature on the board.
Out of the 5 creatures on my side of the battlefield.
Man, I wish I had more Snapcaster Mages to attack with. And then there's Blood Artist, which is basically going to seal the deal. And then Golgari Charm, -1/-1 to all creatures. That is 7 exactly. Getting there the hard way.
Scotty gets blown up by a face shield.
So, I guess, yes. In game 1, Scotty resolved a Forbidden Grizzly Salvage, which had been 2 Immortal Servitudes, and that game was over pretty quick. And then in this game, though the game actually took a fair amount of time, there was at no point the threat of Chad ever winning. So even after purifying the 2 Blood Artists...
So did Chad get the first one?
Chad did, yeah.
Okay.
Because Scotty's deck just never... Well, no, it's not that it didn't really do anything. It's just that Scotty's deck can't really handle... This game is all about Lingering Souls. And if Chad goes like turn 2 or turn 3 Lingering Souls and has an Anthem...
Well, he also has Smiters in this deck, too.
But he can actually answer the Smiters a little bit better because he plays the Abrupts anyway.
Oh, yeah, and he has infinite chunk blockers, too.
Yeah. The Smiters really not that big a deal. But like game 1, he just went turn 1 Lingering Soul, turn 2 Anthem, turn 3 Lingering Souls, and just... That was enough. Because all of your chump blockers... like, they're not chump blockers anymore. They're just, like, the worst... They're all... What was it? Ichor Wellsprings?
Yeah.
They're just, like, the worst card there. It's like, I'm just going to cycle this Tranquil Thicket and hope I draw an answer.
The only expensive thing is the land. We got Snapcasters in there.
He does have Snapcasters. This deck... have you play tested this? I'm sure you guys have play tested this like a ton.
Oh, we.
But like, what graveyard spells do you play in your?
I just play 2 Purifies.
Okay, which is fine because you really only care about the
counterspells
Blood
are really
Artist.
valuable against that deck.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're basically hosed because they can't.
So you're like running duress effects?
It's 4 duress.
Yeah, and that seems to be his only answer.
Pillar
Is
of Flame's really good against Purify static casters.
It is by no means what I would call tier 1 deck, but it is definitely tier 1 FNM level deck, as it is it's definitely fun to play.
Yeah.
And it's got some game. Like, it does struggle against counterspells. It is very much a combo deck that has no way of protecting its combo except with
Duress.
4 duresses, and you have to hope that they don't draw another counterspell after you duress the first one. Because this is a very slow build. I mean, you can combo on turn 5, but very rarely have you reached a point at turn 5 where it's like profitable to combo. You know what I mean? You're usually still trying to fill your bin with as much. I'm just curious how this deck interacts with Rest in Peace. Like, I just don't know how.
That's why you leave them.
The abrupts, yeah. But I mean, like, I don't know. I guess it's just like Legacy Dredge, which is like you can beat them before the Rest in Peace, and if you have an answer to it after it comes down and you didn't go overboard, you're fine. But there's just some games where you're like in the in-between spot where you have to try and go for it, and then you don't get there, and then they Rest in Peace, and you're just like, well.
It's not just like the graveyard interaction. Like, it turns off its tragic subs.
Yeah, it wrecks Morbid. Yeah, Blood Artist and become a just awful chump blocker at that point.
Blood Artist has a 2-mana 0/1.
2-mana 0/1. It's like the Zach Evans of cards. That's what it is. Like, who would ever play this thing?
It's great Commander.
It's great in Commander. No, it's not even great in Commander. Actually, you joke about that, but Dave Brown, old Dave Brown, our resident EDH guru.
Our resident old name.
Our resident old Dave. He plays Blood Artist in a lot of his decks. He plays, what's the Orzhov? Teysa? Yeah, he plays a deck like that, and Blood Artist does a lot of work in that deck.
Blood Artist and Extort are both good commander mechanics because it says each opponent.
Yeah. What's Scotty? What's this difficult sideboard decision we've got here? Is he deciding out Woodland Cemetery? It's a bad in this matchup. What did he take out?
I actually don't even know what he's bringing in.
Dispel. Dispel gets
it hits
Midnight Hauntings, it gets
Advent.
Purify the Grave, and it gets Advent.
Golgari Charms.
And Golgari Charms. I think it's ironic that one of the best cards for Chad to play against Scotty is Golgari Charms, but then Scotty just won the game by using the same mode on Golgari Charms.
Well, still, like, Scotty is definitely signing it in to kill intangible virtues.
Yeah.
Because that's the key in any tokens matchup. Having intangible virtues and soul people.
I did get a chance to post it, but I did cut up a low light of the week when last week Chad trolled us all with his 9-cat sleeves. Did you see that? Where he just lined them all up in his hand and just kept doing them across the screen while his opponent was thinking about stuff. That was a good one. I enjoyed that. What else is going on?
I shrunk her -2 to Temple of Mastery earlier.
Turt Dave says he was going to play the Aristocrats Act 2 at a Grand Prix trial tomorrow, but decided to go to a Sublime concert instead.
Are you going to play the Aristocrats at the Sublime concert?
Yes. Do you have a good matchup against, like, Ska and... Well, it's not really Ska. Sublime is...
I thought the lead singer for Sublime was dead.
Yeah, he is. What?
How the main guy died years ago. How the main guy... Okay, that's a question mark. That should be there.
I think like everybody else, he overdosed or something like that.
Like everybody else in the 90s grunge bands.
I'm showing my age because, like, when I was in college, like, Sublime was very much the go-to, like... Well, actually, at the time, it was the summer of Dave, because everybody was talking about Dave Matthews, and that was my biggest pet peeve in the world, because, like, if you didn't go to high school with the man, you can't call him Dave. You know what I mean? And then also, OAR, did you ever listen to them, Of Revolution? I was never a fan of them. Dave Matthews is fine, a very talented musician.
My sister your age, so a lot of the stuff that you grew up with, I also grew up with by proxy.
Come on, baby! You weren't even born, I don't think.
Dave Matthews
I know who Dave
is a singer, guitarist,
songwriter.
For Jonathan, they
sings like this.
For Jonathan,
Like Justin Bieber in here?
I was going to say Jonathan's music timeline starts and ends with Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus.
For you didn't embarrass me. I read you.
Well, I forget sometimes, like, we needle you a little bit, but you at least you graduated high school. Poor Joseph Deal's like, he's like legit 14, and I forget it all the time. Because I know everybody else is younger than me, but I kind of lump him in with the rest of you guys who are like high school senior to like second year of college.
Yeah, like me.
There's a bunch of you guys in that same. Well, you're like You're like equivalent old man to me, and you're still like, what, 6 years younger, 7 years younger than I am?
26.
Almost 7 years younger. Scotty's mulling into oblivion. Did you win?
Yeah.
One.
6.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm
6.
freaking Jonathan Wright.
Yeah.
Are you playing Esper Flash or American?
American.
The Esper experiment is over?
Yeah. I mean, I could have. Oh,
I
he's
correct-
playing Bug Lands.
Oh, yeah. I correctly called last week, without seeing it, that I knew there was going to be a Rune Chanter's Pike in your deck, and I was rewarded.
I brought that in, and then I saw Nebraska, and I brought that in.
And I Nebraska did.
Yes, you did. I was happy with that.
I beat you.
You did.
Alright. So we're back into some actual Magic action as these guys took a month of Sundays to sideboard. Turn 2 Intangible? No, turn 2 Voice of Resurgence. Much better.
Much better than a turn 1 Captain Allen Hubbard.
And
That's usually the follow-up.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier from the experience we have from playtesting earlier in the week. Like, the mana base in this deck is kind of wonky, and it's very common for you to not to have 2 untapped mana until the 3rd turn.
Well,
So turn 3 Virtue, obviously Chad choosing on 2nd turn to load up the Voice as opposed to play the Virtue. The Virtue actually isn't that big a deal, because you can just chump it forever.
I'm not limiting themselves.
yeah.
I still think it's one of the most important cards in this matchup.
I don't know why you would bring in Duress.
Oh, he just played a shock tap. Okay. I was thinking he already tapped his mana.
No, I was too.
Princess.
Here it is.
I did have to walk outside and ask him what that card was called. I thought it was Alchemist Apprentice, but I wanted to confirm it.
Oh, Alchemist. I even got it wrong.
I like that card in Limited. It's a pretty good tempo play in that deck. So Chad, absent a lot of threats here. So cycling
What's the over-under on Scotty racing? Block sack 50 times tonight.
a lot. A lot. He better hope he says it, because games in which he doesn't say it probably means that he's can't block or doesn't have anything to block inside.
Some midnight hunting from Shad.
It's not FNM or else would have played the over-run team on tap.
Yes.
That's a good observation.
Another Alchemist. And at some point, I imagine Scotty should be tempted to like sack it on his turn just to draw to see if he hits a land. Speak of the devil.
He has a certain,
Immediately punished!
he has a certain hand.
Yeah, he has 2.
Oh jeez, that's not good.
No, because he wanted it to be a land, which is why he sacked the... But luckily for Scotty, he didn't in fact have... Chad did not have Midnight Haunting. And Lockstone Smiter, which is the least crucial card in this matchup, it seems.
So he must have drawn that, right?
Yes.
Yes, that was the draw for that turn.
Oh no, it's insane.
2 Intangible Virtues as a Purify the Grave. Abrupt Decay, well, because of the Voice.
Yeah.
No, I was asking because...
Yeah, because the voice. I know that.
Yes, he was casting that during his main phase.
Okay, there we go. I was...
And,
What he's casting.
and interestingly enough, choosing to play his Watery Grave tap there, rather than to save 2 life as opposed to play a second spell. He does have Dispel in his hand, which I'm really surprised that that's in his deck now.
Yeah,
I mean, it has
it's good for counter spells.
Yeah.
Start with 2 for 2 and leave
it
him.
has targets, but I just don't know if that's the fight you want to be having.
He's probably just scared of worms.
Bugs?
I don't know.
He could be scared of snakes too.
Probably scared of spiders. I'm scared of spiders.
David Bowie is scared of Americans. I mean, he has a song.
Everyone's scared of David Bowie, though, so yeah, this is count.
Bowie. Well, we've worked in Justin Bieber, David Bowie, Dave. It's been a very musically themed round here.
Naked blood artist. Smells like a naked blood artist.
That's out of context quote of the night. Smells like a naked blood artist. I imagine a naked blood artist smells a lot like blood. I would just imagine. Question from Turk Dave in the chat. He didn't sideboard out Dispel. No, he sided them in. That was the 2 cards that he fretted over there at the end of the
It's gotta be a low
second
target.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, I'm just
I think
curious.
it's bad.
I'm curious about it.
I understand it though.
Ooh, purify for value.
Purified targeting the Abrupt Decay.
Whatever the Snapcaster targeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I'm fine with that.
No, that's completely fine, yeah. In a game like this where
I
he's
mean,
filling up his graveyard
I can
fast.
see Chad definitely wanting to do that as his current win condition is a 2-2, but I think Scotty's got to be thrilled that he's wasting part of his graveyard hate. You know, I'm sure he's only playing two
Did you
Purifiers.
bring in Purify in this matchup?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would.
Yeah, because if you like last game, like he got 2 Blood Artists and almost won the game.
Or he could have had another card and just won the game.
I mean, I don't know. It's not like he's citing out his token producers.
Guess something. That's not being Purify the Grave does anything in this matchup.
It'd be curious to see what card he cited out, and then we could decide on that. But I mean, I definitely want to have some kind of
No blocks.
this voice resurgence is going to attack 10 times and get it done.
Yeah, really.
Uh-oh, Chad's drawing another Smiter, which is going to get...
Spider from the right hand.
It's going to meet another Abrupt.
I think if we had an Abrupt decay, not that turn.
Now we have another Alchemist's Blood Artist.
It's so cold in here.
Yeah, yes. Yes. I can confirm that. So, Scotty, first turn he's cast 2 spells in a turn. We got...
So it's not extra flips.
he's got a Blood Artist and another Alchemist's Apprentice. And Chad apparently playing 40 lands in this deck. So we're going to serve... So we're going to serve in here. We're going to chump and then take 2. Take 1 net, right? And so Death by 1,000 Cuts begins.
Yeah.
There's a Duress. We know there's another Virtue in his hand, right?
Purify the Grave in the graveyard.
Why has he not played the Virtues? I mean, is there any bluff value to having...
Detention Sphere.
Scotty sides into Temple Garden and Detention Sphere for this matchup. I think what's interesting about this game is that, like, I think Scotty siding in the Dispels has kind of affected the way he's played this game because he has it. And if he didn't have it, he would just be a lot more aggressive with casting spells that matter,
Right.
rather than sit back and wait for... So there is a Duress.
Playing 346. He did take 2 damage that turn, so my totals are correct.
Should be at 13, not 11.
No, that's wrong.
Why is that?
He attacked with the voice.
He attacked with the voice. My totals are right.
No, I'm not questioning you. I'm reading.
No, we were just reiterating what he said.
Okay.
So 10 minutes. I'll go ahead and correct my clock there.
Into.
Yeah, that EDH game has been just laughing like that, like nonstop. It's pretty brutal. So there we see the first, both the front and the back half of Lingering Souls, and unfortunately, Souls being an instant. We haven't seen a Midnight Haunting yet, so Scotty's, what did he get with the Duress? The other Virtue?
One of the other virtues.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Like he would have just been dead on board if he had cast the other Virtue. Like I have no idea why he didn't cast. Chump the Loxodon Smiter, and it looks like Scotty's pretty much dead here. So the spirits alone are lethal.
Yep.
And Blood Artist can't save him at all because of the way triggered effects work. Is that a Golgari Charm in his hand? Well, that's not any good because they're 3/3s.
Yeah.
Can you kill one virtue?
He can kill 1 virtue and survive another turn. Right? No, he's dead before Blood Artist triggers. So it's up against it. Did he draw land?
No. He can't cast Servitude. He's got a Snapcaster, but there's nothing to snap back. And again, like we talked about earlier in the round, that Lingering Soul is much... I mean, it's not like this is the only deck that has a problem with Lingering Souls. Like, it's just a very good card.
Right.
And it's very rough when your opponent draws 3 Anthem effects, and you can't close them out in that time. This guy's going to try awful hard here to find a way out of this, but I don't think he can get there. Because like you said, even after he bends the Intangible Virtue, he's still going to take 8 from the Souls, and then he can chump the Loxodon Smiter, but he dies exactly to the Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah, Snapcaster above the game, which I think is fine. He can live with it.
True.
then it's just Snapcaster.
No, you're exactly right, because he has a Golgari Charm and he has a Snapcaster, so he can
Well, he can
flash into
Snapcaster or
bear.
Abrupt Decay right now. Chad doesn't have
Chad
one
still
with
has
it,
Purify in the yard.
but he doesn't
He
have
doesn't
one
have
with
white.
it.
Okay.
So he flashes in, there's Snapcaster, Abrupt Decay and Intangible Virtue, and then
Chump,
Take.
chump, draw
he'll be at
land,
4 life, Chad will be at 16, and
And if-
Chad will have all of his dudes still.
and if he draws a land, he can Servitude. He can sack 3 Alchemist Apprentice. I don't think it's going to be enough. Does the deck have a sack outlet that isn't...
Bloodthorn Vampire.
Oh yeah, it does play Bloodthorn Vampire. We haven't seen any of those so far. So Golgari Charm on an Anthem, and then just Snapcaster just for
You have to, right? Yeah.
Snapcaster just as a bear.
Yeah, I would have just Abrupt Decay.
So what are Chad's outs to win here? Cavity Township, Intangible Virtue,
I don't think Chad needs
Yeah,
to do it.
Abrupt Decay,
Sorin.
Sorin. If he drew a relevant card and is sorting his lands out like this, it's going to be the sickest slow roll in the history of our stream.
Fourth version.
Having 2 mana.
I think
Farseek.
another
Oh, no.
Farseek.
I thought it looks like a Farseek.
So there's no thinking here. You just turn them all sideways. Scotty,
You don't turn sideways.
huh?
You don't turn the spirit sideways, Zach.
Oh, because they're intangible.
They are vigilantes.
They're so virtuous. And yes, this Chad is attacking with the one he just summoned, but give me a break. I know someone's going to say something about that. So Chad is hell-bent here, so you just chump the 2 that you can. He's going to intentionally block so that the voice doesn't die.
Mr. Tajio, that's actually the exact list that he's using.
Which one is it? The Rogue
On
Deck
Rogue
Builder?
Deck, yeah. I think, unless he tweaked it a little bit, but yeah, that's what sparked
The
it
I
up.
Be Crazy version.
Oh.
What? The what? Crazy person?
Videos on YouTube.
He should think about running my Mimeoplasm EDH deck. That's up on
Yeah, it
YouTube.
is on YouTube.
Do you run that on Standard? Do you ever think about that?
ZachSmellsMagic.com.
You get disqualified, but it's worth it because you get to play Mimeoplasm.
Thinking about his blocks here.
Yeah, I mean, he's deciding if he wants to kill the voice. I mean, you never want to kill the voice. It doesn't matter. I think if Scotty even if Scotty draws another land for Immortal Servitude, he can't kill him. Unless somehow
He's gonna be at 2. He's dead no matter what.
Going in at 4.
yeah, it's gonna be a 4.
After the triggers, right?
Yeah, and Chad's gonna go down to 16.
So can he combo kill him out?
No,
Yeah, if he gets his
we drew another Blood Artist.
Oh, yeah. I thought he did.
He has 2 Snapcaster Mages. He can Snapcaster Mage Golgari Charm, kill the Anthem, and then
Best
die.
play would be to extend the hand here.
Subtle Needles from the brother. He can cast 2 Grizzly Bears.
You should poke your head out there and tell him that. Be like, Scotty, you forgot to extend your hand right now.
We misplayed.
Snapcaster.
Should be a hand there.
Even when there's a Purify the Grave in the bin.
Chad saw it. Oh, we're seeing the evolution of Chad as a player right now.
And there's a Blood Artist.
Ready?
And do you just...
Is that 8 in the air?
Is that?
Yeah, is this enough?
Okay.
It is funny to grief Scotty. I like to make fun of him as well.
He's just a very slow hand. I'm surprised that didn't take longer with Scotty playing it.
Burn. Well, but I tell you what, couldn't get there. Chad's deck doing what it does best, pumping out flying tokens and then pounding in for copious amounts of damage. But that's what happens sometimes, right? So we've got about 3 minutes left in the round, so about 5 minutes before the next round starts. You guys want to talk about some spoilers?
Sure.
I do.
So somebody give me a spoiler they've seen this week that they want to talk about.
The 2-1.
Yeah, Imposing Sovereign.
Main star, your dudes, your opponent control, and then battlefield tap. Got there.
You got there. So the new Thalia for when Thalia rotates, the spot in that aggro curve where you want to interact with your opponent's board state. Garrett, of course, is talking about Imposing Sovereign, which was spoiled yesterday, I believe, which is a 2/1, 2-drop, that forces all of your opponent's creatures to enter the battlefield tapped. So basically, like I was saying, it occupies that same spot in the aggro deck that Thalia does, where you're basically just trying to put a clock on the board that prevents them from effectively dealing with your board state.
Is this summer you get to play both.
Yes, you do get to play 8 copies of Hate Bear in the 2 slot.
And you can also play Voice of Resurgence too.
Yeah, and they're both humans as well too, so you can play, for a while you can still do turn 1 champion, turn 2 either this or Thalia, and then just put them in a real tough spot. Yeah, Mare is also... But I mean, this card is crucial. I mean, a lot of decks are just trying to race to 5 mana so they can cast a Thragtusk.
It's definitely a solid 3 of them, like a lot of humans decks.
I'm thrilled with it. I mean, I think it's a card that goes right in my cube as well. Like, it's just a perfect, exactly what you want in an...
What's it called, like a Kismet effect?
Yeah, comes into play tap as a Kismet effect. I mean, this card's really good, and there's some discussion on the Facebook page about this when we posted it, about how it's similar to Blind Obedience, but I mean, functionally it is, but I don't think there's any crossover in which you would want one of them and the other.
Right.
I don't think Blind Obedience is a main deck card in a lot of control decks, or at least a one of, or at least it's theoretically a feasible card you could play.
Right.
But I don't want any part of this card in the control deck because it just dies to something. It just turns on everybody's Pillar of Flame and Searing Spears. But you play turn 1 dude, you play this guy on turn 2, and then, like I said, a lot of decks are trying to race to that Thragtusk, and getting the 5 life is important, but the fact that you can no longer profitably attack is what makes it so good. But if you get that one, basically, Time Walk, that's basically what it is in the aggro deck. This card says it's a 2/1 creature that Time Walks. You get an extra attack step than you normally would against the decks that are trying to land a bigger threat on turn 4 or 5. So I think this card's going to... whether or not it sees play is a matter of whether or not, splashing white or white-based aggro decks are still viable after rotation, which I'm sure they would be, but, I mean, you never know. Trying to predict what the standard environment's going to be like after...
Well, the 2-drop slot in
Hey, bud.
aggro decks is occupied...
You can sneak in.
Is occupied by a lot of...
Red cards.
Almost niche cards.
Yeah.
The main ones now are like Night of Glory, Lightning Mauler, Voice of Resurgence, Blood Artist, etc., etc. So having a solid one that's just going to be a mainstay in every deck.
Yeah, and I guess there's who said it? Hashbean90 said in the chat, this card makes you don't have to play around Restoration Angel as much anymore.
Exactly.
Which is pretty strong as well. Yeah, and then the other thing here is that I guess the only really detriment to this card is you can't cast it off of a Burning Tree Emissary.
Correct.
So that's the only thing, is you kind of basically have to choose your poison and which kind of deck you want to go to. If you want to go in the Naya Blitz, humanish deck.
I don't think Burning Tree Emissary is going to see a lot of play this summer. As the card quality improves in the standard pool, cards like Burning Tree Emissary, cards like Firefist Striker, just these really narrow cards that overall are bad, just get forced out.
So JB's just called time, so we're done with round 2, but we're still going to have some time here. Someone in the chat was mentioning this card, which I did happen to download, or I grabbed the, yeah. So this little guy, I don't know if this guy's good or not, but he's fun.
You know what I want to play that with?
Gristlebee?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's obvious.
The Banisher Demon?
The Search the City?
What does that card even do? I know it's the card that everyone likes to make fun of.
If you flip over 5 cards, and then whenever you play one of the named cards that you flipped over, you get to cast that card. And then if you get through all 5 cards, you can take 2 extra turns.
Yeah, you can just play so many Shadowborn Apostles. So Shadowborn Apostle is this set's equivalent Plague Rats or Relentless Rats. You can play as many of them as you want. They're 1/1s for 1. They're not really anything special, but as you see, its special ability is pay 1 black and sack 6 of them. And then you can get a demon from your library and put it straight onto the battlefield. And the relevant demons in play right now are... is Runescar Demon legal now? No, he's out. Grizzlebrand, obviously, is the best one I think you could get.
The new black one that makes you discard your hand at the end of turn?
Sire of Insanity is a demon as well. They're printing that new, whatever the one that exiles a creature when it comes into play or whatever.
And then if you don't have...
Destroy non-black creatures. Shadowborn Demon.
Shadowborn Demon, yep. That's thematically, that's why it's in there. That is the...
So you're going to have a deck with like 15 lands, like 40 of these guys, and your demons, and maybe Immortal
I just want to
Servitude.
first pick that demon in a draft and take those since they're common.
I want you to just draft like 17 of these and just have no demon to search for.
Though one of the best ones used to be like draft all the squad and hugs. So why not? Like Immortal Servitude for one. Get back 12 dudes.
That's bad.
I don't know, the possibility of like possibly having a turn 4 Grizzlebrand in Standard is like at least worth like spending the time and looking into it.
Whenever you draw 7 cards, you're drawing 7 of these guys.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I know Pat Chapin, when this card was spoiled, he posted a list, and it was a battle of wits, this deck.
Okay.
Like, it was some kind of... I'm not saying it's good, but I mean the ability to have a very attainable board state, where you play enough of these guys, like, it's very common to be able to activate it.
Right.
To have to consistently have a game where you're always resolving a Grizzlebrand is probably at least worth, like, looking into. Now, I agree, it's probably not viable, because your deck has to be so bad in order to have the Grizzlebrand.
You're not drawing 4 Soils and Emrakuls.
No.
I think a 7/7 lifelinker on turn 4 would probably do that.
Still, I don't know. That's not Garrett's style. He wants to draw 5 cards. What else? I want to pick one. Just myself. We've already talked about... let's talk about this. Pretty interesting reprint. The Door making an appearance.
Oh yeah, that's the Sliver Door.
Yeah, Sliver Door. I'm just going to save a lot of you, if you've never played Standard or Constructed with the Door legal, if you weren't playing in Morningtide, I'm just going to save you a lot of time. Door of Destinies is not where you want to be in a tribal deck, because by the time it comes down, you've already cast all your creatures. And so, like, best case scenario, it's +1/+1, when you would much rather have, like, a Hell Rider or something similar to that. It is cool that they reprinted it, because it was kind of getting up there. It's like a $10 card for Commander, and it is very much a card you want to... I mean, I have one Tribal Commander deck, and it's very much the card I want in there, because eventually, you know, all my goblins end up being, like, 8/8, because it just over the course of time it gets out of control. But yeah, this is the kind of card which I think is like a trap. It's like very good for casual players. They're going to enjoy playing it on the kitchen table.
That's like a 1/1.
No, because you just want to. It doesn't do any damage.
Right.
It's only good if you also have another creature. And like I say, if this costs 1 mana, best card in Standard. Slivers would be all over the place. If it was basically the Aether Vial, you know what I mean? That's why Aether Vial is good, because it costs less than the creatures you're going to eventually cheat into play. You can double your mana. This doesn't double your mana. You have to waste a turn and then hope that you... In order for this card to be lucrative, you had to have not been doing what you had built your deck to do for the first 3 turns.
Exactly.
And this concludes our dissertation on Door of Destiny.
Speaking of slivers, Univol's reprinted, and also a functional Tectonic Edge is reprinted.
Uh-huh.
The cast for 1 colorless, and then basically fog yourself for a turn to strip mine somebody.
Yeah, I have that one too. Encroaching Wastes, I believe it's called. This guy. This was spoiled today, wasn't it?
Yes.
This is the equivalent Tectonic Edge. I keep making it bigger so it blocks out Scotty.
That's what.
Get both right. Yeah, so as Garrett was mentioning, so there was a very interesting discussion today on the... very interesting article today on the Mothership. Basically, Sam Stoddard's Friday article saying, you know, there's been a lot of speculation what lands are going to be in this core set, and the general speculation is that the Buddy lands are going to go, you know, the M10 lands are gone, and then what would they replace them with?
Now it's got to be man lands.
Well, the answer is nothing, because as he very concisely said, they can't afford to put duels in M10 and then have a new set in Theros, because you've got shock lands, the buddy lands, and then a new dual land set. Like, it would just be impossible. So they'd much rather sacrifice the mana fixing in the core set, which is not a block-based format, and then have another set of mana fixing lands in Theros. So there are no dual lands in M14.
Kind of saw that come on whenever.
Yeah, it's not a surprise.
Had 2 dual lands.
Yeah, when you had Shocklands in, it's not that bad. But they did reprint this, and Immunivolt as well, which we talked about in the past, and then Encroaching Weights, which is functionally, if you think about it, a Tectonic Edge. Because Tectonic Edge required 4 in a way it requires 4 mana, because you got to wait until the 4th turn anyway. But this is really anywhere close to being as good as Tectonic Edge, and the mana cost of paying 4 in order to attack it to do the same thing as a wasteland effect is clearly not as good. But it is the kind of card that you could play one of in a control deck or in a deck that's not really mana greedy, just to hit utility lands. And who knows, if Mutavault starts showing up everywhere, that's obviously a target. We've already have Wolf Runs and Nephalia Drown Yards and Gavany Township showing up. And Lord knows what they're going to print in Theros. If they do move back to Mainlands or something, then it's definitely a card you might see one or two of. And
it's definitely more exciting to have in Standard than Ghost Quarter.
Yeah, because Ghost Quarter doesn't this one actually kills a land.
Ghost Quarter is a 1 for 0.
Yes.
I lose a land.
A lot of times the best things you can do. A lot of times the best thing you can do with Ghost Quarter is kill your own land to shuffle your deck and fix your mana. Yes.
Target myself to pin a land out.
The chat, specifically Caden, saying that he's upset because it's just too expensive for a non-repeatable effect, which is true. It's not like this card is great. It's just it's the card they have to print.
They didn't want it to go in an aggro deck. Basically, they didn't want land.
They don't want you strip mining.
In an aggro deck, so they had to put it as this is your 5th land. You have 4 other lands. Okay, now you can waste land. Mm-hmm. And if an aggro deck gets to 5 lands, you just rather play a Thunderball.
And the chat's also talking about how, you still like Ghost Quarter in this spot because it at least answers the utility land problem, but with not you don't have to fog yourself, basically, or time walk yourself by tapping 4 mana. But also remember, Ghost Quarter's going away in 3 months or 2 months or whatever. And again, they can't make this too efficient, otherwise it becomes a good card, and then people start blowing up each other's lands, which is something they cannot afford to do. Table 9.
Table 9 again, Adrian.
Mm-hmm. Are you 1-on-1?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got Brett Rose versus Brandon Gibbs. That might be a good one. Or we've got Justin Sayer and Brandon Hart. Let's see if Brett and Brandon want to play. Oh, I forgot you're playing. Table 10 against Nick.
Sure.
All right. So enough encroaching waste talk. We'll be back with more spoiler discussion later on in the evening.